The first winter-like storm of the season arrives tomorrow, and it's going to be a doozy. It's going to bring very high wind speeds, storm surge, heavy rain, and potentially heavy snow in the higher terrain of western Newfoundland and eastern Labrador. I'll break the forecast down after I thank tonight's forecast sponsor, Atlantic Edge Credit Union. Explore checking and savings accounts, loans, mortgages, and more at aecu.ca. Visit one of their 16 branches across Newfoundland and Labrador for banking that feels like home. In tonight's forecast, we'll talk about why this is happening, what's going to make this storm so extraordinary, when the wind is going to move in, when the storm surge arrives in your area, when the rain and snow arrives, mostly rain, in your area, and when the weather all improves, even if it's just for a little while. Now, taking a look at the satellite and radar imagery, we've got two pieces of energy, two areas of low pressure that don't look overly assuming. One near Ottawa, I've got it circled there, one east of Cape Cod off the coast of southern New England. These two pieces of energy are going to phase and form one heck of an area of low pressure. Now we take a look at the atmospheric vorticity, or the amount of spin in the atmosphere. The more spin you get in the atmosphere, the stronger an area of low pressure can be, and this one is going to be a doozy. And why is that? Well, we have two pieces of energy, as I mentioned before. Now, when you're looking at vorticity, you're not looking at the surface. You're looking about 15, 20,000 feet off the surface in the atmosphere where we see that spin, where we derive it from a few different properties of the wind. But we have one piece of energy here. Doesn't look overly impressive, does it? And we've got one piece back here in a positive or neutral tilted trough for you weather nerds out there. But what happens is this piece of energy here is going to give its energy to this piece up here. And as that happens, it's going to develop an area of low pressure, not only at the surface, but that low is going to be closed off and circulate well up into the atmosphere. And when you get that, when you get a really well ventilated area of low pressure, you can get a surface low that deepens very, very fast and very, very quickly. And that's what's going to happen tomorrow. In fact, the area of low pressure that we see is going to undergo what's called bombogenesis as it approaches Newfoundland from the south tomorrow, passes over the island tomorrow night and into the North Atlantic on Wednesday, where it stalls. Now, bombogenesis is a fancy term for a low that deepens at least 24 millibars in 24 hours. It's what you call a bomb cyclone. Now, I don't like to use the phrase, but when you hear that, that's what it means. The area of low pressure is going to deepen to less than 948 millibars over Newfoundland tomorrow night or early Wednesday morning as it passes over the eastern side of the island. If that's the case, this will be the deepest area of low pressure to pass over Newfoundland in the history of November, since records have been kept. So it's going to be no slouch. And storms like this often generate a lot of wind. And that's kind of what I'm worried about most with this low. It's not so much the rain or the mountain snow, but the wind. And wind warnings are in effect for most of coastal Newfoundland, from the Bay of Exploits to the Avalon Peninsula, as far west as the Port aux Basques area into Wednesday. The alert states that the winds may gust as high as about 100 or 110. I'm concerned the winds in some areas may gust higher than that, especially in areas like Fortune Bay, possibly Placentia Bay, Trepassey Bay, areas of eastern Newfoundland, and possibly even the south and southwest coast as well. Now, timing out the wind gusts, okay? So tomorrow morning you wake up, you might think, Eddie's wrong again. Wouldn't forecast a good, you know what, if you had a cramp. Well, first of all, I assure you that I could. Second of all, it's not going to be windy when we wake up tomorrow morning, but it will get there. So by midday tomorrow, those winds are ramping up. Gusting 76 in Grand Bank by 2 o'clock, by midday tomorrow, 68 Trepassey, St. Bride's already 83, St. John's 64. Keep in mind, we're already in tropical storm force wind gusts. Hurricane force is 120 kilometers per hour. By 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Grand Bank is gusting 91 from the south. Marystown, potentially 115. Placentia 88, St. Bride's 104, St. John's 99. Carboneer 93. What has me somewhat concerned is the model here oftentimes underpredicts wind speed. So if it's underpredicting, this is going to be very interesting tomorrow afternoon. The other thing of note is where this area of low pressure comes ashore. So tomorrow, 5 p.m., this computer model is suggesting the area of low pressure is sitting somewhere west of St. Pierre and Miquelon. If that's the case, we've got some very strong onshore flow onto the Burin Peninsula and working into Placentia Bay. That is essentially one of the worst case scenarios for storm surge in Placentia Bay if that ends up being the case. The wind speeds are also going to increase. We may see winds in St. John's tomorrow afternoon, gusting well over 100 kilometers per hour. I think this piece of guidance was showing 120. Again, I'm not saying it's going to be higher than that, but the computer model oftentimes underpredicts wind speed, so the potential is certainly there. I'll be keeping a close eye on things tomorrow. I'll be live streaming through a good bit of the afternoon, keeping you ahead of what's going on. By 10 o'clock tomorrow night, that area of low pressure has moved ashore. It's in Terrenceville or close to it. And as that happens, wind speeds under it and around it will actually slack off a little bit. So we might get 2 peaks of wind. One tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, slacks off a bit tomorrow night, picks right back up again early Wednesday morning as the area of low pressure pulls away into the North Atlantic. And notice as we go into Wednesday midday, those wind speeds are still quite high, gusting close to 90 by midday Wednesday in St. John's, 84 in Trepassey, 80 in Burgeo, 75 in Harbor Breton. So it's still going to be quite windy by midday Wednesday. Thereafter, the wind speeds will slowly start to come on down. On top of that, because of the strong onshore wind and the very deep nature of this low pressure center, we are going to see the potential, excuse me, of some coastal flooding. Initially, that coastal flood risk is going to be on the south-facing shores tomorrow night, Wednesday morning, shifting to the north-facing shores on Wednesday as the area of low pressure moves into the North Atlantic. And as we bring up the coastal flooding and storm surge risks, this is a post I put up on my website earlier today. This kind of highlights when we can expect those, okay? So South Coast, Ramio to the Burin Peninsula, 4 to 6 meter waves upon approach to shore, and the greatest impact from the high waves and the possible surge is going to be tomorrow evening with the high tide between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. For the southern Avalon Peninsula, Trepassey. The Trepassey breakwater is likely going to take quite a pounding tomorrow. We're talking about wave height 6 to 9 meters near shore, and this is going to be with the high tide tomorrow evening and possibly again Wednesday morning. And then for the Avalon, northeast coast, including the northern Avalon, we're going to see the high tides becoming higher than normal Wednesday evening and Thursday morning. Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, Thursday evening, and possibly again Friday morning. And then we may very well see that coastal flood risk work up into Labrador as we go into Thursday and Friday as well. So something to keep in mind. Now we move on to the rain threat. So we've gotten the wind threat dealt with. We've gotten the storm surge threat dealt with. The rainfall threat. Burin Peninsula to the southwest coast under a rainfall warning for tomorrow into Wednesday for amounts up to 50 millimeters. Amounts may be higher than that. Now, we're looking at the solid color here for the special weather statement. The outline here is the coastal flood alert we just talked about. But here in this area, we are also looking at a special weather statement for parts of central and western Newfoundland, northern peninsula for rainfall as much as 40 millimeters, although it could be more, and then snow inland over higher terrain. And that could be significant in some areas. Into Labrador, we're looking at the potential for high winds, rain up to 50 millimeters in some areas, and snow over high terrain that could total over 15 centimeters, and storm surge between Thursday and Friday. So that's why the special weather statement is up for parts of coastal Labrador. So timing this out, I know there's a lot to get through. Timing this out as we go through time. We start tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Again, by that time, there's not much going on. As we go into midday, the rain has arrived over much of Newfoundland and parts of southern Labrador, and it's gone from not being too bad to windy and rainy and downright nasty. As we go into the evening hours tomorrow, there's the area of low pressure coming ashore near Harbor Breton. It's windy, it's rainy, it's still nasty, it's warm on the eastern side, it's cold on the northwestern side, where we are seeing valley rain, low elevation rain, coastal rain, and potentially snow, and heavy snow at that, inland over higher terrain. That's taking hold as well in southeastern Labrador tomorrow evening. By midnight tomorrow night, we're looking at rain for a good bit of the island. And again, even though the computer here is showing snow, on the lower elevations, it's 1, 2, 3 degrees, it's rain. Inland high terrain, it's a heavy wet snow. You can count on that. By 6 a.m. Wednesday, we're seeing the rain and snow lingering on the island, but it's getting a little bit less intense, a little bit less widespread. And that trend continues through the day Wednesday as the low slowly pulls away. While in Labrador, we're looking at a mix of rain and snow along the coast, and again, looking at snow inland over higher terrain, and eventually as you go further up the coast, it may just be snow. So rainfall-wise, what are we talking about by the time the rain is all said and done? Well, this is through 8 p.m. on Wednesday on the island. And by that time, the rain is pretty well done. And we're looking at a solid 20 to 40 or 50 millimeters for eastern Newfoundland. As you go farther west, the computer is suggesting Gander picks up over 60 mils. Grand Falls winds are 50. As you get back towards Corner Brook and southwestern Newfoundland, 50 to 70 millimeters. So the rainfall warning may have to be expanded further north. And based on how this low is going to work its way across the island very slowly, we are likely going to see some kind of banded area of very heavy precipitation that lingers for a good long while. If this was snow, it'd be a heck of a blizzard for a lot of areas, but it's going to be rain. But generally on the kind of northwest and west side of these areas of low pressure, you get what's called a, going off a tangent here, essentially it's a mesoscale band that kind of forms like this and then pivots. And so areas that end up under that band for the longest period of time will get very heavy areas of precipitation. I think that's what the computer is trying to suggest when it shows us this area of intense precipitation that seems to be kind of in a band of nature like that. Now also notice all these little bullseyes here. That is topographic enhanced precipitation, or the hills trying to, the terrain will increase precipitation as it forces the air up. That's also going to be snow in some areas. We'll get to that in just a second. In Labrador along the coast, we are looking at rainfall amounts by Thursday morning of 20 to 40 millimeters, but it could be higher than that. Now notice here, again, same thing. We get that same signature here. The bullseye, Mealy Mountain's going to see significant snowfall, and some of the high terrain in southeastern Labrador will also see significant snowfall. And I can show you that as we take a look at the snowfall forecast. So again, inland, high terrain, significant snow on the way. Lower elevations, either rain or rain, kind of wet snow mix. But as we take a look over the island, we're not looking at real impressive snowfall amounts. Again, it's inland over the highest terrain. I don't think most of you are going to see snow. And as we zoom into the Corner Brook area, you can kind of see that really nicely. Again, it's as we get into the higher terrain, we start to find that snow. Same thing on the northern peninsula, up the spine of the Long Range Mountains for sure. But on the coastal areas, maybe a little bit on the eastern side, but on the western side, you know, Port au Choix down through Cowhead and Trout River, Rocky Harbor, I'm not expecting really any snow in these areas. And into coastal Labrador, again, between Rigolette and Hopedale, sure. Mealy Mountains, 40 centimeters plus. Mary's Harbor, not much, but the high terrain between Mary's Harbor and the Forteau area certainly could pick up some significant snowfall. So something to kind of keep in mind. This system exits later Thursday, Friday, but on the island, we're going to see another system coming in, looks like for Thursday into Friday, and that may bring a little more in the way of snow. So there's your 7-day forecast for the Avalon Peninsula, Central Western Newfoundland, Great Northern Peninsula. For you folks on the South Coast, you're similar to like the Avalon, I would say, this go around. As we look into Labrador, again in the west, not much going on. Goose Bay, a little bit of snow, rain shower activity Wednesday, but not much after that. It's the coast of Labrador where we see the real unsettled weather. It looks like through potentially Wednesday and maybe even Thursday and Friday on the north and mid coast. We may get a break for southern facing shorelines by Thursday, depending on the wind direction, because that'd be an offshore northerly wind. So keep a close eye on that. My updates will be coming fast and furiously over the next couple of days in the app. So be sure to check that. If you don't have it, get in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and you can scan the QR code right there on your screen if you're watching this on YouTube or not on your mobile device. All right, my next update will be tomorrow morning. I'll be tracking the storm closely for you throughout the day. Tomorrow I'll have live updates as well. Have a very good Monday evening. And again, my next update will be tomorrow morning, likely bright and early.